Hey everybody, Scorpion here. Today we're going to be checking into cold storage. Y'all stick around. So I know y'all are wondering, what's he talking about cold storage? Well, I'm talking about long-term storage. How do you store stuff for a long period of time? What are some of the ways to go about doing that? So let's start off with this. This is how I store all of this, my long-term stuff. I go buy some, I put some in a long-term storage in case there's a shortage. I put some in the safe. That's my everyday whatever I want to do with it, and that's how I do it. So I've got all of them labeled. They're in storage cases. I do normally put some of those things out of your pill bottles in there, silicone packets or whatever, just to help soak up any moisture that may have been closed up in them. But they are all sealed. It's got a rubber seal, so you don't have air storage, air exchange and all. And I've also got some metal boxes too. But this is how I store my stuff long term to make sure it's good. But that's not all that I do to store it. So let's take a look inside. We're going to slide this out the way. So I store it in a variety of ways. So I have different types. You know, this is slugs. I vacuum seal, and I don't advise, how do I put this? So I've had some people come to me and say, hey, vacuum sealing them, you're taking the air out of them, and then when you go to load them, they're not going to fire because there's no air inside that cartridge. I understand that. There's going to be a void in that cartridge. So I do them in different stages, and I have them marked according to how I have them. If I'm thinking it's short term and I'm going to go back and change them out in a year or 2 years or something, then they may be vacuum sealed with most of the air out, but I don't pull a huge vacuum on them. I'm just doing that to make sure that moisture doesn't get introduced into the shell or cartridge. So that's one way to do it, and that would probably suffice for long periods of time. We're talking 10-15 years. Beyond that, I do pull more of a vacuum. I don't pull it to the max, but I do pull more of a vacuum if I'm trying to store it for more than 10 years. For the reason that if I'm going to use it, or it looks like I'm working through some of my other stuff, I'm going to go ahead and break that seal and give it time for that air to get back into the cartridge. Because there's a vacuum in that cartridge too. It has to fill that void. It will fill that void. Now, can you take it straight out and stick it in there and think it's going to fire? No, probably not. But thinking ahead, you can break that seal and give it time. So it depends upon the person. That's what I do. Some is just sealed, and some has a decent vacuum pulled on it, but not a massive one. But as you can see, I duct tape the corners of the boxes so they don't poke through. Adds a little pad in there, pull a little bit of the seal, drop it over into the ammo box. More so the metal than the plastic for the next idea, but you know, I put them in here, and you know, there they are. They're taken care of. I don't have to worry about them going bad. I don't have to worry about if I get a flood in my basement or in my roof or a water pipe bust. It's not going to hurt them. They're fine. They'll still be good. Now for other ideas, and I don't trust these, which I think they would probably work fine, but I do not trust these as much as I do the metal ones. But let's go with the SHTF scenario, right? And I'm going to show you with something different than that, because that's not the only thing I store that way. You got to think outside of the box, even though you're putting stuff inside the box. So Duracell batteries, they're stored guaranteed 10 years. This is when I got them, 2016. That's when I put them in here. So I know they're good at least until 2026. But I've double sealed and have moisture control on them. So they should last a lot longer. These are vacuum sealed nice and tight. So you figure if they're guaranteeing them for 10 years and you seal them this way, they ought to be good for 15 or 20, because there's no moisture in there running from one end to the other or anything like that. I've done some markers and pens that way and a few other things just in case, say I have it in my sack and I have to get in water, that marker or pen is not going to get waterlogged and quit working. So I have some that are and some that aren't. Now you do have to check them, because some of the batteries really wasn't that good in the first place, and when you pulled that vacuum, that happened. So you don't want much of a vacuum. This was back when I first started, and this is what happened. So you got to keep that vacuum really loose, just barely pull most of that air out, shut it down, and that kind of thing. But as I said, this is when I was starting, this is when I was learning, so those will be coming out. But I mean, I packaged these at the same time and there's no issue. So not everything is made equal in the world. But anyway, this is long-term storage. So 10 years, say power goes out today, something drastically horrible happens, power goes out, I've got batteries for 10 years. I know I'm good. You can rotate these out with new batteries. You can do whatever you want to do just to make sure you're good. And as I said, there's a few different things that I store this way just to make sure it is good, it's safe, I know it's there if I need it, no big deal. I do store more D batteries than anything, for the main purpose that I have lanterns, electric D cell lanterns in my house. I've got 5 or 6 of them. I do not keep the batteries in them unless they're being used. When I'm done using it, I take those batteries out. And then I go ahead and use it in something else, whatever the next thing is I need batteries for, and I buy a new pack of batteries to put in here. But I mean, if I go a long period of time from a storm, week, 2 weeks or whatever, without power, I've got batteries, I've got the lanterns, they're stored, ready to go. Just plop the batteries in, and I'm good to go. Now, if it was a flood, you think it's going to hurt this? Nope. I could run out there and toss this thing in the pond and leave it for a week and pull it back out, and it's still going to be dry on the inside. I don't trust the plastic ones the same way, but these, I know they will. I mean, this is a military surplus, you know, seal, it's good. If for some reason it did leak, everything inside is sealed. So this is my thing, the way that I like to do it, the way that I trust and I've seen that works great for me. There's going to be some people that do not like the vacuum seal idea, and I understand that. I'm just putting it out there as food for thought. You can use a vacuum sealer to seal it and not pull that vacuum. Some of your batteries are going to fail. They just were not built to have that vacuum in there, and like that first set that that I pulled out, they're going to leak. It's going to pull the acid out, and it's going to leak. But you know, I haven't checked this in probably about a year. I try to go through my stuff yearly just to check it out, just to see what it's like. So that is kind of my thing, and I do like the fact that the stuff that I have in these, I can tie a string around the handle, toss that thing underwater somewhere if I need to, tie it off to a root or something, and come back and get it in a day or two if I need to. Y'all can use y'all's imagination of different things that may or may not help. But again, I mean, I couldn't run out of the house with 50 of these thinking I'm taking everything that I need and do that. You know, you might have time to grab one or two, run out the house with you if you had a bad situation or something. But I mean, this is just food for thought, things that you can do, ways to be prepared, mainly for storms, because you never know when you're going to have a bad snowstorm, a tornado, a hurricane, you know, anything. And I've been left without power for a week before, and this has made stuff super nice and easy to make it through that duration without not being able to function. So anyway, just wanted to share this stuff with y'all as of other ways that you can store stuff if you feel like you need to store stuff. And hope this has been very helpful. This series has been wonderful. I'm excited that I was invited into it, and we'll see you next 2 weeks from now, next Thursday video. Y'all have a good one.